Hi English 10, Ms. Long here. This video is the beginning of Unit 1, Session 3, where we're wrapping up our choice novels and continuing to explore literary elements, devices, and this week, literary theory. Everything that we've done up to this point is building toward our final two sessions that will be next week and the following week, where we will apply everything you've learned about these literary devices and literary elements and literary theory, and you're going to critique and share your critique with other students in the class. You're going to critique your own novel. So let's take a look at what we're doing this week, and then we'll talk about that in just a second. So this is our session plan for the week with our goals and objectives here at the top. We'll talk about focus and narrator and perspective in just a moment. But this is just a reminder, you can get information about how to reach me and work sessions where you can come for extra help. These are the two assignments that are going to be entered into Schoology this week. You really have a third assignment, which is to actually finish reading your novel. But we have Edgenuity sessions on theory of literary criticism and an Edgenuity session on the narrator of the absolutely true Diary of a Part-Time Indian. And then a reflective journal where you'll look at your own novel, and then again you'll finish reading your novel. So as always, there's a suggested schedule here that you are welcome to use to get through the week. So when I look at the perspective part of this session, I think of the most important skill, or one of the most important skills, I think, for work and relationships and life and school, because being able to take a different person's perspective can open worlds to you. And it can make a huge difference in the decisions that you make. Now, we're doing it on a literary level. I introduced this by saying that my child brought home this book, Duck and Rabbit, kind of a silly little book with an optical illusion, but it brings the point home that we all look at things in different ways. I have a father who's in his 80s, and he talks about how the 1950s were the good old days. They were the best time in America. And I always want to think, well, yeah, if you were a white man in the 1950s, it probably was the best time for you. But if you were a black woman, maybe not so much. So that's the type of difference that we get into in looking at perspective in analyzing and critiquing literature. So as you learn a little bit more through Edgenuity about literary theory, you'll see that there's different ways of looking at literature, different lenses. So, for example, racial theory or gender theory, you would look at books through those kind of lenses of gender or race or history, that type of thing. And all of this, remember, is the bottom line is at the end of this unit, you're going to be able to say, I really think that this book is valuable for these reasons. You're going to be evaluating the novel that you're reading. So keep that in mind as we look through this session on perspective. So just a reminder, you'll have two Edgenuity assignments. The first one, Theories of Literary Interpretation, is particularly important for completing the weekly journal, where I'm going to ask you about some different ways of looking at your novel according to biological or biographical or psychological perspectives, or sociological or historical perspective, what's going on at the time, or ethical or myths and archetypes type of perspectives. So, and then there's, of course, the formal, here close to the center of your novel, of things like the literary elements and devices that we've been looking at. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at your novel, and I'd like for you to think about what a person coming from a certain perspective might think about your novel. It's a little bit of a pre-writing exercise toward what you're going to be doing next week with literary analyses. So, to get ready for next week in that literary analyses, you need to continue reading your book. And please remember to be tracking quotations as you do that so that you have some material to work with. So, as you wrap up your session, you're going to ask yourself these questions. Can you really tell me about literary theory and how that's different from literary criticism? Can you consider your book from a different perspective or approach? And when you do that, what new insights do you have? Does the narrator really make a difference anyway? Have you finished your novel? And are you ready for some really robust discussion and writing activities in the next couple weeks? And if so, you've done a good job with this session. So any questions, direct them to me. You know where to find me, message, text, call, all those things. We'll see some of you on Monday morning. But I hope you have a good week and be in touch.